Welcome to a Pneuma conversation, a raw, authentic, unfiltered conversation with spiritual teachers, leaders, coaches, healers, and seekers. Get to know who we truly are beyond the polished world of interviews, social media, and podcasts. We are human. We struggle too. Join us in real conversations that heal, transform, and inspire. These are the conversations that remind us what it means to be alive. Today, we are in conversation with Verias Smith. Verias, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much. Honored to be here.
It's a pleasure. It is a pleasure. So you've seen the show a little bit. We've had a conversation briefly, but who is Verias? Who is this beautiful being that I am talking to today?
The eternal question.
Right.
Who is Verias Smith? I am a musician and a lifelong musician, songwriter, composer, and through most of my young life, knew exactly what I wanted to do, what my purpose on earth was, and that was to create music and to perform. And then I got interested in, I had other interests. I wasn't one dimensional. And I sort of went into those other interests and explored them and found that life kicked in. And
Mm.
I found myself being, 25 years later, away from the true reason and passion that I was born to operate in and born to resonate on. And it started to become. I hope you don't mind. I'm just diving
No,
into
go.
this. This is kind
Yes.
of my favorite subject right now.
Go for it.
It started to become a serious problem for me because I was living a life that was fascinating,
Yeah.
was lucrative, and I had a career, and it was, and I of course had a family, and so all of that was very nurturing and fulfilling. But my professional life, the thing I got up every day, the alarm clock went off, and I would go and do until I could come home and be with my family, was really not feeding my soul at all. In fact, it
Mm.
was taking me away, for those hours away from what my soul was aching to be doing. And I always knew it, but I thought I had rationales. I have kids now. I have to do this, and I can't just do what I want to do. Which there's certain truth and wisdom in that, but at a certain point, I'd say maybe 2 or 3 years ago, it became impossible for me to not make a change because
Mm.
there was something dying inside me. There was something becoming dull and worn down, and that's not who I am. I'm a person who loves life and who loves creating and loves engaging in other people creating in business I always gravitated toward the creative side, but still it wasn't the thing I was born to do.
Sure.
And as that became that wasn't so much a voice in my head, it was just a reality that became undeniable that I was living the wrong life.
Yeah.
That I knew I had to either just make the decision that the rest of my life was going to be that and just be okay with it, or I was going to have to make a pretty big change because
Mm.
there is no money in the music industry. I mean, for a very select few, there is. There is no, and I shouldn't say that. There are people that make a good living in music, but it's a career. It's a career path that has to be developed, and that was not the career path that I chose to develop through my 20s, 30s, and 40s. And so here I am, starting over, and to go to Nashville and that's not really, that doesn't feel right to me, right? It's
Mm.
not that it's too late. It's just it doesn't feel like the right path.
Sure.
So to just recognize the fact that I want to create and also to share what I'm creating, and to get serious about that is hugely liberating. And so
Mm.
I made that change. A big part of that change was moving away from the Boston area where we had been for so many years and our kids grew up. And when my kids went to college, that's when I felt like, okay, I actually can do this.
Okay.
So my wife and I and all of our animals moved up to a farm in New Hampshire, which we were so lucky and blessed to find just randomly. And so we're on this big rambling farm,
Mm.
which as we were talking before we started,
Yeah.
huge amount of work,
Yeah.
and it's a difficult set of tasks on a daily basis just to keep it up and running. But but it's such a refreshing change,
Mm.
and allows me now to have space in my mind and in my day to pursue, my true frequency.
Beautiful.
And
Beautiful.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
doing. So yeah.
Let's go back just for a moment. What was Verias like as a child? Where did you grow up? What were your parents like? Were you religious, non-religious?
I have no
were you a were you a musician even then? I assume you
Yeah,
were.
I was a born musician.
Yeah.
From my earliest memories, I was writing songs, of course, just devouring music. My family was extremely musical, and
Mm.
still is. Many of them extremely active in the arts, and then some of them performing in the Boston area and beyond. Um, and so music was a huge part of it. Religion was a big part of our life as well. As I had mentioned before, I'm Roman Catholic and have ebbed and flowed in my faith as I matured as a human being, but have come to a extremely uh, big reliance on my faith and on my practice of Christianity, um, especially recently with the world turning the way it has and becoming so, I don't know, devoid of
Yeah.
this. That's not the right word. That's too overdramatic. But I think there needs to be more spirituality. Needs to be more community in that kind of resonance. This may also be the same kind of hunger that I came upon in my own soul and my own journey, is that that's what music is in a way to me too. It's a community. It's a frequency that you're resonating on, hoping that
Yes.
others can share in. And so it's part of spirituality for me. But yeah, so growing up very musical and a practicing Catholic and am now today.
Beautiful, beautiful. I also come from a musical family. I played trombone. I've been singing all of my life. My sisters played violin, and one sister played piano. They also sang. My brother's an artist. He's an architect. I mean, so yes, it just creativity has run through my dad was our church organist for 20 some years,
Oh, lovely.
and yeah,
Yeah.
my mom was in the choir. So yeah, yeah, very very much can relate to what you're saying. So
Yeah. Were
we just
you
yeah.
were you always interested in the spiritual realm and religion, or was it
Oh,
came later, or how did that happen?
I jokingly say that I popped out of my mother's womb in tune. Didn't know what the heck was going on. But I was seeing things, I was feeling things, and the faith that I grew up in didn't have language for it, so I kept a lot of it to myself. But
Interesting.
I hungered for God. And
Mhm.
I grew up in one of those churches that had an altar call, and so I was at the altar every time there was an altar call, because I hungered, I wanted to be connected.
Yeah, interesting.
And I thought that I was disconnected because that's what we were taught. We were taught that original sin, we're born into original sin, so we're automatically disconnected. But when I would go home or in my private life, I didn't feel disconnected.
Hmm.
What's going on here? So yeah, and then it became, I went to college to learn to, in ordained ministry, because that's what you do, because if you feel a call in your life, and you're raised in the church, that's what people tell you you do. And but when I got there, got to my junior year, and something just was like, this is not my
Hmm.
path. And that was 20 some years ago. And so it's been a spiritual journey ever since, let me tell you. And I'm going to be sharing my story very very soon, because people are asking for it. So I thank you. That's just, to me, that's confirmation that it's time to share the story.
I think
um,
it's super interesting, and
yeah.
it's as I was saying, I think it's an important kind of story to share,
Yes.
in today's world. But also, people feel vocations to lots of things in life, but I think there is like a select few who feel a vocation to God.
Mm,
That's fast. You don't hear that story very often. I don't
yeah.
anyway. And so
Okay.
I would find that to be super
Yeah.
interesting.
I thought that in order to be connected, because I love reading about mysticism and all the spiritual teachers and Alan Watts and Siddhartha and those kind of and Buddha, I thought I had to run away to a cave,
Hmm.
and I
Hmm.
don't have to.
Hmm.
And that's and what I'm experiencing, especially now in my life, is really telling me I don't have to run to a cave in order to experience what I'm experiencing. And I think that humanity is shifting from the cave to we can experience this in our daily lives.
Yeah.
You know, and one thing I often tell people, especially my Christian friends, you know, you talk about God being God in your life, and you believe in God, and God can do anything, but you only reach out to him when there's chaos or when there's trauma in your life. And then you tell God this is exactly how you needs to be fixed. And so I'm telling my friends, what if for a moment you allowed God to be God in every moment of your life and not just in the chaos?
Hmm.
Isn't that what he's inviting us to do anyway?
Yeah, I've always thought of it too as a relationship, you know,
Yeah,
and so if you had a friend that you only turned to ever when
yeah,
you were in crisis and everything was crappy, that, I mean, you know, a good friend would be there for you, of course, but
yes,
that's one dimensional, you know, when
yes,
so much more to the friendship that you could benefit from and grow from if you just
yes.
would understand that it's there for you all the time. So yeah, I totally understand that. I get that.
Yeah, yeah. So I I've fallen in love with this word pneuma, and I came across this word during church history. Actually, my former church history professor was on one of the episodes, and beautiful conversation. But anyway, he introduced me to the word pneuma, but it was actually a remembering, is what I'm finding, and I'm so in love with the breath because
Hmm.
Greek pneuma means breath, and it is taking me back. My journey is taking me back right now, at the time of this recording, um, before form, before titles, before names, and what it means to just be,
Hmm.
and in the
Interesting.
stillness. And so, I am resonating with people like you.
Hmm.
I can feel your stillness, not only in your spirit, but in the music that you're playing. And then, of course, the property that you've just recently moved to. I feel it in the land,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and I feel it in the land that's behind me. And we are breathing with all of this.
Hmm.
It may not breathe the way we breathe as humans, but everything is breathing
Hmm.
because if we go back to the moment of creation, we all come from that place. No
Hmm.
matter what form we take, whether it's rocks, it's your piano, it's the black keys on your keyboard, or it's the computer that we're using.
Yeah.
This all came from what I call the hush
Hmm.
and the breath. So anyway, I can go on and on at this. There's just
No,
as
it's
you
totally
can.
fascinating. Totally fascinating, and it's so relevant to music to me
Hmm.
because I experience music very much in that way. It's a resonance.
Yeah.
It's an inspiration, you know, and literally the word inspire means to breathe, I believe, and you know, and so
Yes. Yep.
it's a just becoming quiet enough to accept, to see it, to hear it, to experience it, you
Mhm.
know. And that's where music comes from for me. That's where songs come from. That's where song ideas. Sometimes you have to wrestle them on the ground. That's the craft, the poetry of it. But it's there. It's not. It doesn't come from me. It comes from
Yes.
somewhere much greater. And and I think so many songwriters will say that. You know, it's a frequency. It's a radio, and then you tune in. You're like, oh, there it is, and then you grab onto it,
Yeah.
and you can bring it into this world to share it. But it really didn't come from us. It came through us.
Hmm.
And it's such a gift to have that. And it's another reason that I had to make this life change was that it is a gift. And you know, you look at any musician and you see the people in the audience who aren't musicians looking at this person on stage doing the thing that they're doing. And it's not because they're a genius. It's not because, you know, they're better in any way. It's because they were given a gift. You know, everyone has their own gifts, but that particular gift of being able to share this frequency is so
Yeah.
it's so it makes it accessible to other people. It's a very special thing, it's almost like maybe like I guess any art is that same
Yeah.
experience, especially performance art. Um, but I do think it's akin very much. It's a cousin to religion or spirituality, if not just
Mhm.
actually physically a part of it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you took me right to where I was wanting to take you. So this is beautiful. What you've already talked about it a little bit, but if you could go into a little more detail, what is happening for you when you're sitting at the piano? You may not always hear the words right away, but you're feeling the tone.
Yeah,
You're feeling the music that wants to come out of you. What is that moment like for you?
yeah. I had a buddy once who we were studying music, which is the fastest way to lose interest in music, by the way.
Yeah, right.
Take it into the academic realm. But you know, we were doing Bach. We were analyzing Bach inventions, which are
Okay.
wonderful, wonderful pieces of
Yep.
music,
Yep.
and very simple pieces of two voices essentially, sometimes three, and um, and he was struggling with it, and he just basically gave up. He's like, I don't have any point, I see no reason to do this. I'm going to get a bad grade. That's fine. And I was like, well, you got to learn it, right? This is classical. This is Baroque voicing. It's so important fundamentally. And his attitude and what he said to me was, look, man, all those classical musicians that are doing this, and that's what they want to do, and they love studying this stuff. They're just notes on a page, man. They're just notes on a page. And that always really rang in my head because it's so true that if it lives in your head and it's purely an intellectual thing, it's just notes on a page. Whereas the real music is happening beneath the notes. It's
Yes.
not the note, it's how you attack, articulate, play the note, how long you hold it for, the manner in which, the personality in which, you do it. And so what's happening with me when I sit at the piano is often I'll be in my head a little bit when I sit down, and so I'll be doing something that's interesting, or there's a progression I like, which a progression simply means in a chord there are lots of different notes, and you're choosing which ones and how they move, and then it'll either well up in me, almost like a tear, like a little sob,
Mm.
an emotional idea or an emotional place even, or um, or I'll just be quiet and I'll just say, all right, no, I don't say anything actually, I just quiet.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, yeah.
and then something literally just presents itself. And it's sometimes not worth, writing a symphony with, but often it's worth exploring. And it's always time well spent. I think poets talk about that too. And I think it was Wordsworth who said, you've got to write a line a day, because the reason was to keep that connection there, so that when the music starts to come through you, or the words or the emotion starts to come through you, you're already connected to the mechanism through which you're going to bring it into this world. So that's what it feels like. And that's why I really do feel it's special. Not everyone gets to do that, and so it's what a
Yeah.
crime to not live that, when it's so clearly something that I can do that some others can't.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so now the big question, of course, is gaining skill around that, to not just be overwhelmed by emotion and banging away on the piano, which can be very gratifying too, and even great for certain kinds of music. But to take that and to try to craft and try to use your skill and grow your skill to compose and to weave the different aspects of the art form into into something that's worthy, worthy of sharing, worthy of something that you're proud of, something that feels right and feels like you did something good with it, and that it's worth putting out into the world.
Yeah.
So
Various, you shared with me that before we hit record that um, you took a 20-year break from
yeah.
music. If you feel comfortable enough, tell us why you took a break what was going on in you in your life then? What led you to coming back to music? And then share us the name Verias, how that came to be and everything. I mean, kind of a loaded question there,
Yeah.
but there was something that happened in your journey and in your spirit that said, "Wait a minute, I need to go back to music."
Yeah. It was, what I think I was alluding to it before.
Yeah.
It was something that I was born to, with such a passion and such a certainty that it was both a curse and a blessing, because
Mhm.
when you know what you're here for, the responsibility is kind of crushing, especially when you look around within any art form and you see the greats that have come before you, and you think, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to measure up to that? And the
Mm.
truth is, by by putting in the 10,000 or 20,000 hours, that's how.
Yeah.
There are geniuses like, Mozart, who just could, from 4 years old, write genius music. That's not most people, and so you have to work at it. And so I don't know if there might have been some running away from it, from that crushing
Mm. Okay.
responsibility that I'll never, some lack of self-esteem. I'll never measure up. And so I didn't go into it, but what it really felt like just in practice was I had other interests. I pursued those other interests, and I found myself in a career which was great. It was fascinating. It was very gratifying, very lucrative, but and I was pretty good at it. But there was always this aching hole, in my soul, which was there, and it was never going to be filled by anything other than doing the thing that I was here to resonate with. And so it just got worse and worse. I became more and more worn down, and I felt burned
Mm.
out. I felt that I wasn't living the right life, honestly. And so I got to a point about 2, 3 years ago where I just couldn't continue doing that. I couldn't, and so I had to make the big choice. I think I mentioned this before too. Either I was just going to decide, okay, well, this is it. This is my life. I'm not going to pursue the thing I was given that was so special and I'm so passionate about, or I'm going to have to make a big change and somehow kickstart this not so much career, but this path, this journey into the skills and the knowledge and all of the things that will allow me to do with this gift something meaningful. And so I just decided I'm going to go for it. Life is short. I didn't want to be lying on my deathbed and say I didn't try. And so here I am trying. And so, yeah, so we made a big change. We moved away from the Boston area. Loved Boston. Our kids grew up there, but when they left the house, we realized that we were free, and my wife and I and all of our animals moved up to this sizable this farm in New Hampshire, which is so lovely, and we're so blessed and just so grateful to have found it and to have it. It's a lot of work, and some of that's a distraction, but it's also just so refreshing. It's so different from what I was doing. So, yeah, so the change was to make a break, and to say I'm not
Mm.
going to live a life that I don't care about anymore. That doesn't, I don't feel has any meaning, and it isn't I'm not growing from, and to step into a world which feels so right, although I'm, 30 years behind in skill, but here I am. So,
So it wasn't a dramatic, sorry to interrupt. It wasn't something dramatic. It was just something that you kind of stepped into. And I want to point that out. We always think we have to have this dramatic transformation, like the phoenix rising,
mhm,
and we don't.
yeah.
It does not have to be that way. I call it, we walk into inevitability of our
Mhm,
lives.
mhm,
And when we are on the frequency or we're on the tone that we're supposed to be on, it's just something that naturally happens.
yeah.
And that's what you're describing. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
that, that,
Keep,
that
keep.
makes perfect sense. It really does. And there's no way to be the phoenix anyway. I mean, certainly not for, you know, it's not going to be one dramatic moment where you just rise up and you're wonderful and perfect.
Yeah.
No, you learn to walk and you stumble a whole bunch, and it's a huge learning curve. But to understand, for me anyway, to understand that the joy, if the joy isn't in the journey and the exploration
Yeah.
and the learning and the growth, which means stumbling, falling, sometimes embarrassing yourself, um, then maybe it's not right for you, because you gotta get comfortable with being where you are, not where, oh, I want to be one day. Here you are. So make the most of this day, not don't get all depressed because you're not 20 years ahead.
Yeah.
So
Or
yeah,
behind.
we're behind, right?
So
Exactly.
where does Various come from? What?
Yeah, so Verias was not the name I was born with or was raised with. It was really a choice to be someone new. It's a lot of artists do this. They'll take a name, and with that name comes a huge liberation from all their old hang-ups and all their old sense of identity. And Young called it the shadow, where there's this aching, scared child within all of us, really, in some capacity. And to be able to recognize that child it has to be integrated. It's not going to, you can't conquer it. It's not going to go away. But to recognize that that is an identity. It's a part of your identity. But you can also choose an identity that allows for so much more than that. Not that I was the whimpering child in my, but it's a helpful, sort of psychological handle to put on it. So Various is the opposite. And Various is sort of a character that I aspire to be. It's
Okay.
an artist that gets up every morning and thinks about creating art and goes to work. And it allows me to not think about all the other things that I would have if I were just, my ordinary name. Um, and so it's really kind of a big part of this change for me, and it works for me.
Mm. Beautiful. 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 I love the piano that's behind you. That is a gorgeous, gorgeous grand piano. How
Yeah,
long have you had that?
it's a special piano because it was I think my great great grandmother's piano.
Oh, wow.
Came over to this country from Hungary originally. It's an old Steinway, and it has been in my family the whole time. Uh,
Wow.
I grew up with it because my father was a great piano player, and I grew up with it in our living room and playing it literally every day. I never studied piano as an instrument. Clarinet was actually the
Okay.
I broke my fingers over, but piano was always I gravitated to it. I should have taken lessons, of course, but and it's never too late. But this piano is extremely special. My dad was a gifted piano player. He also, just like me, would play by ear, and he would have songs that he loved, and he would just sort of create these worlds around these songs, the musical worlds. And every opportunity he had, he would play, and it was just this incredible way to grow up, especially because he learned it from his father, and his father taught him all the old chords, from the 19th century, from Danny Boy to all the Broadway classics, and there was a richness and a sort of a melancholic context from which all of that came from musically, psychically, that I got handed down, this thing in my ear, which is a big part of why I think I learned to connect to music so early on, because I connected with that heartache, with that emotional expression, rather than just the notes. My father also raised me with Bach, Beethoven, and Brahms, but but it was always the well, even in that realm, it was always the stuff that really pulled on your heartstrings, that made me take notice. So the piano, I recently inherited when he passed,
Okay.
and I was very lucky to get it. My family was extremely gracious about letting me have it because there were others that would would have enjoyed it
Sure.
too. But I think they recognized that I spent so much time with this piano, and it's pianos. Special musical instruments are, like you were saying before. It's almost like a location. They are imbued with certain qualities which have their own personality. They have their own life, and just by playing a low C on this piano, and listening to it roll, it's special, and other kinds of pianos can have their own, personalities and music in them. I've done a huge amount of work to this piano to restore it, and it's been
Okay.
a long and interesting journey, working with some incredible technicians to get it to where it is now. But yeah, so I'm so lucky to have it.
Yeah. I think you said, but how old is the piano?
It's 1880s, I think.
Wow. What a blessing.
Yeah, it's a lovely, lovely piano, and the original soundboard intact, and it's of course a lot of the mechanisms of a piano, because a piano is essentially a harp, right? It's a percussion
Yeah.
instrument. There are hammers that come up and down and strike the strings of the harp, and there's so much that goes into what makes a piano sound the way it does. I mean, so much geometry and physics, but also artistry, because it's, the creation of a musical instrument, a wonderful one. It especially takes artistry. And then the technicians who work on it, who know how to bring it this way or that way, and to recognize something that's a strength of the piano, and to bring it's a craftsmanship and an artistry in and of itself that's just awesome and fascinating. So the piano is its own journey.
Yeah.
But it's a big reason, it's a big confidence builder for me to sit at the piano that I wrote songs at as a 8-year-old, to be able to now take that, the rest of the way with me. It means so much to me.
Yeah. My dad is gonna love this episode when it airs, and he's gonna love the story of your piano. He just recently got his baby grand after years of dreaming to have one.
Yeah,
He
great.
finally and he loves it. So yeah, he's gonna love looking at that piano. He's gonna, maybe one day we'll have you back and have you play it for us. So,
Yeah,
but
I would be happy to. Yeah, it's
yeah,
always undergoing some kind of change, because it depends on what I'm going to record next.
sure.
It's doing so right now, but I would love to. But yeah, a piano. Not to go on the piano thing too long. I
No,
could talk
keep
forever
going.
on pianos, but before radio, there was a piano in almost every home, and in
Okay.
every bar, and that was the entertainment, and
Yeah.
people learned to play something on the piano, and everyone would have their turn, and of course there were people in the family that would excel at it, and it became a huge part of the culture, worldwide. Well, I shouldn't say worldwide, in the West.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was really the advent of the electronics entertainment, universe of radio, TV, and now everything else, that pianos have now fallen off, and being a universal, piece of life in a home. But I think every home should have a piano.
Yeah. I agree. I agree.
Special things.
So I grew up, music was such a part of our family. I woke up to hearing music, went to bed hearing music, 'cause my dad would either play the piano or play his organ, or he put we had a huge record stereo, one of those long ones that fit the wall.
Oh,
And he
nice.
would put the old records on, whether it was Anne Murray or whomever. And so those are some really special memories for me. Did you do that with your kids?
Yeah, my kids got a lot of piano playing, because I had a piano before this one, which I had for most of their childhood, and so I was always banging away and singing at the piano. So that was part of it. But yeah, we definitely we shared music a lot, from going to shows, to Broadway, to classical, um, to them having their own lessons. They all got piano lessons because I didn't, and I was going to make sure that they did. And they're both really good pianists. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that was always a big part of our family growing up, was the piano, and they can sit down at the piano and enjoy themselves. So it's great to
Mm.
see both of them, and every time they come home from school, that's I just my wife and I look at each other, and we're just like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. They're in there playing, and it's great. Now the sad thing for them is that my Steinway is
Yeah.
in my basement, which they can have access to if I'm not working.
Sure, sure.
We have a piano up in our living room, which is a much more modest piano. In fact, I got it for like I think $250. Costs more to move it here. But it's a perfectly adequate piano and it sounds great. I wouldn't have picked it otherwise, but not a fancy piano, but lovely. And they love playing that too. So yeah, the instrument is a big part of our life and music,
You
of course.
you mentioned that it costs more to move it. My father used to have, I think he still does. He used to have those old piano mover dollies.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And people were always asking him to borrow those, or to help him move stuff. So I have fond memories of piano moving and all that kind of. My dad was so particular about making sure the piano was moved just right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because you can mess it up.
Yeah, exactly,
And then
exactly.
the soundboard, I mean, there's a lot of machinery, as I was saying, inside the piano that can be messed up, which can be costly to
Yes.
repair. And then
Yeah,
the
yeah,
soundboard,
yeah,
you have to really baby a soundboard because the soundboard is that
yeah.
piece of wood that is resonating against the harp strings, which gives it the
Mm.
ambient amplification. And if you damage or miss a line or crack the soundboard, it can be a real problem. It can ruin the piano.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
So,
right.
Various, what are you hoping to do now? What are you wanting to do as a musician? Are you wanting to be on the stage? Or are you just wanting to play for fun? What's going on for you?
All of the above.
Okay.
I'm working in a project right now, which is creating. I have several albums worth of music that I'm working on. I have a group of musicians that I work with in mostly Nashville, some in New York, who it's kind of interesting because I found them during COVID. As
Okay.
I think a lot of people sort of woke up in COVID and made changes, but that's
Exactly.
sort of when I started to realize, oh, I gotta figure out who I'm going to work with,
Yeah.
and I found them very lucky to do so. And one guy who's in particular been sort of part mentor, part producer, bandmate, like MVP band member. He plays almost everything well. And he's a pro, right? He's a professional musician in Nashville and does a lot of studio work. Lovely, lovely guy. His name is Greg Carrillo, and he has helped me a great deal. But the challenge for me in performing is that I don't have anyone local, not yet. And so my first step, I think, in my mind anyway, whether this was right or not, who knows, was to create some music that I could share so that I could almost like a business card where I could say, look, this is the type of stuff I do. This is the level I'm at, and I'd love to work with you, and be able to collaborate with people. But you need that calling card, which says, all right, the guy has at least an album out or two of credible music, not credible, but music that's performed to a certain level of professionalism, to try to attract some other folks to collaborate with. But yeah, I definitely want to perform. I haven't been on stage to perform even an open mic night in 20 years
Oh
or
my.
more. And so that's the next step. And that for me is very natural too. It's just a matter of putting the work in to get my skills back. Um,
Well, you're invited to perform here right now. So, but it's up to you. So,
I
uh,
appreciate that. No, I'm sort of not ready, and nor is the piano ready
yes, of course.
today. But
Yep.
yeah, I'd love to come back and do that.
Yeah.
It really is just a matter of
Yeah.
the piano being playable, and then
Yeah.
and choosing a song and running through it. When you're a songwriter, and that's recording artist and slash songwriter, and you're not on tour, you rarely, at least for me, I shouldn't say everyone, I rarely play a song all the way through, because what
Yeah.
you're doing is you're perfecting, crafting little pieces of it. You're working on the bridge today, tomorrow you're working on the verse, a little more, you're working on lyrics. So it's not like I'm practicing. And so before you go on tour, that's when you tighten everything up and you get yourself into a position where you can really share the whole thing in a dramatic way. So
On TikTok, you have a piece that you're playing quite often on most of your videos. What piece is that? Can you talk about that? And
yeah, sure. That's my last release. It's called "I
okay.
Hate Not Loving You."
I'm
It's
sorry, say again.
called "I Hate Not Loving You."
Okay.
It's a duet really, with myself and another musician. Her name is Thea, wonderful, wonderful vocalist. And it is just an intimate love song, really from within the realm of the two characters in the song are in a challenged relationship and
Okay.
um, and want to love each other, sort of
Mm.
groping to find out if that's still possible. And yeah, it's kind of heavy. And it's so funny. My wife, whom I'm extremely happily married to,
Yeah.
often is like, "Where is this coming from exactly?" And the truth is, I don't know. I don't know where it's coming from. It's coming from. It's almost like writing a play or something where you have characters interacting, and uh, that I think it's true for many songwriters. It's not all autobiographical at all. It's maybe the emotion is. I clearly have experienced something like this in my life at some point, and but it's not about myself and my wife. It's about these two people that are trying to connect and feeling this emotion and that moment in a relationship, And so and I went to that place, and that's where the song came from, and hopefully that's what we're capturing with it.
I think a lot of people can relate to that kind of story because there are so often we're in a relationship where we genuinely love each other,
Mhm.
but we're not speaking the same language. And we're going, why is this not working? We obviously love each other. We don't hate each other. We don't want it to our paths to diverge, but sometimes it does. But there's just genuine love. And you're
Yeah,
bringing voice to it, which I think is beautiful. So people are going to really resonate with that song. It's beautiful. And but it's also okay for the path to diverge,
right,
recognizing that there's still love because it doesn't have to be a symbolic rupture
right.
when the relationship diverges. And I think that's what you're talking about. And so yeah, a lot of people are going to relate to that song. It needs to have that needs to be voiced.
Yeah,
Because so often we think, well, the relationship's not working, so we need to be angry with each other, we need to fight, we need to hate, we need to get other people involved so that we feel validated, and and it doesn't need to be that way.
yeah.
But that's what we're used to.
Very true. It's very true.
Yeah.
And for me, I think it is a form of therapy. It's a form of
Mm,
exercising those
yeah.
emotions um, and so I hope that is something that it can serve to be for others as well, which is by being able to step in even for a few minutes into that song and to experience that it's therapeutic, that it can transform or transport you from where you start feeling that way to where maybe you can go. Um, and that's a big part of why I do what I do is I want to um, I don't know, I want to communicate. There's no way to put it into words, but I want to
Yeah.
communicate that progression, from starting in one place and going to another or ending in another. And so that's what I hope to capture in that tune.
Yeah. Beautiful. I feel it. I mean, I definitely feel it. I often talk about the tone beneath the breath,
Mm.
and that's what music does.
Mhm.
It's not always about the words. It's about what is the tone of what is the music making me feel?
Mhm.
Because that's the real message of the music,
Yeah,
of the piece, not
yeah,
always the words.
yeah.
Um, there's a question forming, but the words are struggling for the moment. Um, I have an artist friend, and every time he gets to the easel, that's his meditation.
Mhm.
Is that what music is for you?
It can be. Um, It can be, although it's more of a conduit of emotion than
Mm,
meditation. And
okay.
interestingly, I don't know why, because I don't think I am a tortured soul. I have a depth of feeling that I'm, drawing from clearly, but it's not so much meditation as it is kind of a primal scream. And that may be because I'm a rock musician and not a a classical or baroque musician, but um, it doesn't feel like meditation. I make my attempts at medication. My attempts at meditation, and I work at getting better at the practice of meditation, and that feel and I like it, and it's very useful to me, helpful to me. That's not what it feels like when I'm writing. When I'm writing, it's more of a welling up of something that needs to be said,
Mm.
and so it maybe in a way it's meditative, but
What's your I think you just said it, your genre of music that you like to perform?
yeah, I consider myself in the realm of alt rock.
Okay.
Alternative rock. I do a lot of angry, sad stuff. I don't think it's depressing music, but
Yeah, yes.
emotional music. Um, you know, it's it's all over the place a little bit because I'm drawing from lots of different influences. And those influences, luckily, aren't present in my head when I'm writing. I think when I was just learning to write, that was always a problem. I was like, oh, this is too much like the Beatles, or this is too much like, Peter Gabriel. Now I just let it flow. And I don't
Mm.
worry about it sounding a little bit like this or a little bit like that. Because the truth is that I have influences, and there's no point in pretending that those artists didn't have a huge impact on me. They did.
Yeah, yeah.
So I allow that now, which is great for me. Um, but yeah, so I would say it's alt rock, which is a very large genre. The genre thing is tough because who knows, you know?
Uh,
And there seems to be 10 new ones every day anyway.
I was just gonna say on TikTok, we're seeing a whole new musical genre that's taking place. It's indie, but not quite. And people are the music, the words they're writing are about connecting to spirit
Ah,
and they're also sharing their emotional pain and their healing in their words. And so the music industry doesn't quite know what to do with this category yet, but it is so freeing and so
I
beautiful
agree.
to hear. What's that?
We don't need the music industry anymore.
No, we don't. We that and that is key.
Yeah,
We don't need outside structures to
yeah,
tell us who and what we are and what we want to do or how
yeah.
to express ourselves.
Yeah,
And
if you
that's
have something to express, the audience is out there. You just have to put it out,
that's
and it's
yeah.
it's always it's not always easy to get, these algorithms that control our, what we get to see and don't get to see.
Yeah.
It can be pretty maddening. I wish that that song, I Hate Not Loving You, could get to people who are suffering, because it comes from a suffering place, and I think it's a hopeful message that might help someone. There's no way to get it, not online anyway, to get it to that audience. It's not up to us.
Right.
But yeah, I agree that like the um, the huge number of different choices now is just amazing. But, and artistically, there's no confinement. There's nothing that's holding you back. You can just do whatever
Yes.
you're feeling and put it out there. So
And I think that's the beauty of what's happening in our world right now. Is that yeah, on the surface it looks ugly.
mhm,
And we are very divided. But yet there's something underneath that's taking place if you're willing to listen.
mhm.
People like you and I are finding our voice.
Yeah,
And
that's it right there.
we are finding our strength, we're finding the courage to share our voice with the world because of what's happening on the surface, the chaos of what's happening on the surface. And
Mhm,
it's not just with you and I. So many people are being able to feel they can express themselves.
mhm.
And it's a beautiful thing. That's what's happening if we're willing to go listen beyond underneath the chaos of what's
Yeah.
taking place.
It's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
Just from my own experience, um, especially on TikTok, not so much on Instagram. And
Yes.
I'm not a native to these things at all. You know, I'm 10X, not millennial. And so like um, TikTok in particular is very new to me,
Yeah.
and I I was just deluged with support from people just encouraging me and saying, "Hey, man, right on! Like what you're doing, great!
And I'm experiencing the same. Yeah.
It's so nice. It's so nice.
Yes.
Now, of course, there are the random hater every now and then who says obnoxious, but ignore that because that's the opposite of what we're trying to accomplish. But but yeah, and so that the upside of this kind of democratized communication is very cool. It's very
Yeah.
cool. And I didn't expect that, you know. I didn't
Yes.
expect, so it is a kind of a beautiful thing.
I want to go back again for a minute. You mentioned Peter Gabriel and the Beatles.
Yeah.
Are the Beatles your favorite? Do you enjoy Peter Gabriel? Is that why you mentioned them, or do they
Oh,
just
it was a spectrum.
suspect?
I
Okay.
love so many different artists, but Beatles I grew up on. Beatles I was introduced as the first rock music.
Yes.
And I remember we had a 45 player, and I had the 45 Apple, an actual Apple record. I still have it, actually.
Very cool.
I'm a keeper of those things. But the Apple record with Help on it. And I played Help so many times, over and over.
Mm,
It's still probably my favorite song ever written, Lennon McCartney. It is a piece of genius. If you think about that, that song stands up as a hard rock song even today, written in whatever it was, 1961 or something. Um, Profound, truly profound, and it still hits me in my gut. It's just a cry for help, and the all in 3 minutes and 10 seconds or whatever it was. Just incredible, incredible writing. And then went through lots of different phases. Had deep relationships with artists, from Elvis Costello to Billy Joel to one of the greatest songwriters to have ever lived. To Peter Gabriel and that whole progressive rock era, I loved it, absolutely loved it. And that's another example of, I think, artist identity. Peter
yes.
Gabriel would often take on identities. He was always called Peter Gabriel, but he would take on identities in his songs and take on identities in different albums. It was like David Bowie, the same thing. Ziggy Stardust, etc. And it's just truly incredible. That is one thing that I think is changing now because of the music industry and the democratization of recording and releasing music, is that the album used to be such a special thing. You'd get the new album and there was album art in it, and then you just would listen to it over and over again. You would commune with that collection of thoughts and musical ideas. And now it's all single based, and I regret that. Maybe that's forming up to be something special, but the drib drab, which is good for the platform, of one release and then another release and then another, it's short attention span, content essentially is really what it is. Takes away from that drama. It was almost like going to a Broadway show when you got an album. It was a
Okay.
whole work. And that was true right up through the 80s, and then it started to really change. But anyway,
No, it's
music and
beautiful. No, I love it. I brought it up because uh, there's something that happened with the Beatles,
hmm. Oh yeah.
a very evident
Called rock and roll.
spiritual transformation that happened for them,
Mhm. Oh yeah, that's right.
and people missed it
Hmm.
because they were so in love with the Beatles.
Yeah, right. Well, that's one of the reasons they broke up, I think.
Yeah. And they were not, they were, I think, in a way, they lost their own identity in the group.
Hmm.
And then their spiritual awakening that was happening for each one of them. Wait a minute, hey, hey, wait a second. This is who I really am. Yeah, that's all great. Beatles is great, but
Right,
they all kind of said at the same time, I need to go do something else, and it was all okay.
right.
But we as people get so attached to external validation, external symbology.
Yeah.
And so that when the Beatles broke up, Well, they didn't break up, they just diverged.
Yeah.
It was people couldn't handle it because
Yeah.
they didn't discover stillness within themselves yet.
Right.
And so I just there's recently on, I think it's HBO or Hulu, there's a new um John Lennon documentary. I encourage you to, you would love it.
Oh, yeah.
It is so beautiful. But I reconnected with the song Imagine.
Mm. Yeah.
It is so appropriate even still today.
It's a beautiful, beautiful song.
And the Christian world shunned it, pushed it away because it didn't come from a Christian.
Hmm. Interesting.
But there is truth in that song.
Yeah.
It's time to come together. It's time to stop the hatred and the madness that we are creating.
Yep.
And yet people were still doing it with that song and with John Lennon and the other Beatles.
Yeah.
And I have such a deep connection, I think, I mean, I was born in 76, so I completely missed the Beatles era, but it still lives on in their tone
Hmm.
and with who they are. And that's the point I'm trying to get to. And
Hmm.
but the Imagine is so appropriate. And I need to go back and listen to Help because I'm not remembering the song right now. So
Very different song.
a very different song, but it still resonates for today, I think.
Hmm.
And then I wanted to talk about Peter Gabriel. I am a big lover of 80s love ballads.
Hmm.
Huge. But in my spiritual journey, I fell in love with them all over again because if putting putting romantic words on someone else is not very healthy. And trying to find a savior in someone else and a love partner in someone else is not healthy. And so I've rediscovered these love ballads in terms of how spirit talks to me and how I talk to myself. It's opened up a whole entire world. I so it was interesting to me that you mentioned Peter Gabriel. So that's because he's one of my favorites.
Hmm.
Love his stuff, Chicago, and then his solo career. There's something there,
Hmm.
the tone underneath all of that.
Are you
And
thinking of Peter Cetera?
oh yeah, I'm sorry, Peter Cetera, but also Peter Gabriel as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. Well,
I get them
Chicago,
both confused.
great, great band. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, and his power ballads were insane. Yeah.
Oh,
Those were epic, epic. Yeah.
but I think there was something going on for them that it came out as a love song, but
Hmm.
there was something going on for them that they were even able to write those words
Oh, yeah.
because those
Oh,
are sacred and holy words. We don't think
yeah.
about it all the time, but they truly are. And as musicians, you're just wanting to express what's going on inside. Not even a musician, but as a creator, you're wanting to express what's happening inside.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing that's happening for me. You know, I'm a musician in my own right, but I create in another way. I create in this way. There's something that's happening with me that I want to share with the world. And
Mm.
I want to bring us all together through the words I'm saying, just as a musician wants to bring the world together through their words and through their music.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Very much the
that
same.
was my point. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Are
cool.
you happening for you? Is that what's happening for you?
Yeah, it's an intimate thing for me, but
Yeah.
yes, very much. It is a way of me reaching out. It's a way of literally saying, "This is what I'm feeling. Are you feeling it too?" You know,
Mm,
can you feel this too? Because if so, then I would love to know that. So in a way,
yes.
but
Yes.
it's not I don't feel like I'm a part of something. It's very individual in a way. It's very personal. And I'm looking for the other people, the other individuals who can resonate with it. And it doesn't matter if it's one or three or 300. It's if it can make somebody feel, if someone can understand what I was feeling and be like, oh yeah, totally. That's what it's all about. Then we're connected, you know. That person and I are connected at that point and share and have shared that, you know, and that is human emotion. And so that's what it feels like to me.
Well, Various, you've got me hooked. That's that's why you're here. I resonate with you with every single video, and it is a blessing to my soul,
Oh, well,
literally.
that's so lovely to hear. Thank you very much.
So
Thank you. And I very much like what you're doing too. So,
thank you,
I
thank
got
you.
you. Yeah.
We're coming down to the end here, and so I want to ask you, what is your biggest struggle?
Biggest struggle. I don't have to think about that very hard. My biggest struggle is with myself.
Yes.
Um, I I have I have the voices in me that will hold me back, pull me down, and it's only me that's doing it. There's nothing stopping me from growing in the way that I want to grow and sharing music and being who I want to be. It's just those voices in my head. I recently released a song about that. Actually, it's called Shadow.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
And that thing that's in me, and I think it's in many, if not all people. I don't know what it is, but it's but it's not. I don't know why it has to be there, or if it's a if it's like a vestige of childhood or the pain of childhood or something from before. It's it's a negative thing, you know, which makes you live in your head, not your heart, which makes you doesn't make you, but it says take refuge in these things that will keep you safe rather than branching out, trying something, being willing to fail, being willing to grow, taking chances, you know, go in for that connection rather than playing it safe because it wants to keep you safe. And so it's telling you these things that will keep you safe. And that's no way to live, right? And so if that's
Yeah.
governing you, then you're living this tiny little fraction of yourself. And that's what I think I did for a long, long time. And that's why I have this midlife crisis, or it's not a crisis, but it's a
Yeah.
shift in me where I no long that's no longer good enough. It just is no longer good enough. And
Yeah.
so I still struggle with it, and I still every day try to overcome those feelings of play it safe, you know, don't do this or whatever it is. It's hard to even put words around it, but and just having some guts to get out there and to put things out there and to reach out there to grope a little bit and to see what happens because what happens is
Mhm.
going to be interesting, far more interesting than if you didn't.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Well, Various, we are definitely going to keep in touch. I definitely want to have you back when it's right and good for both of us. Um,
cool.
if people want to get in touch with you, are they welcome to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. You
Okay.
can always reach out to me. TikTok has become sort of the place that I spend most of my communication
Okay.
time now.
Hmm.
And then, of course, I'm on Spotify under Verias Smith. It's just
Okay.
Verias, last name Smith.
All right.
And I'm out on everything, you know, not just Spotify, Apple,
Okay.
and everywhere else. But the best way to communicate is probably right through TikTok. I'm
Okay.
also on
I'll put all that. Yeah. I'll put all that info in the show notes. So we'll make sure we'll take care of that. Um, so um, and last thing. Are you comfortable enough to breathe with us, to be in the
I'm comfortable
stillness with
enough
us?
to do it with you. Yes,
That's
it'll be new for me.
beautiful. Beautiful. All right. So I don't know if you saw the end of one of the shows, but we just take a moment and we just breathe together in the sacred, in the stillness, and then I'll bring us back together.
Nice.
So. As we come back together, we remember that we are remembered, we are loved, and we belong. And with our hands on our chest, we say, home meets me here always.
Amen.
Verias, it's been a pleasure.
Same. Yes. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really, really enjoyed it.
This has been a Pneuma conversation. Thank you for sharing in the breath. Together, we've remembered a little more of what it means to be human. Until next time, breathe.